1. The unfinished ritual. In a remote village in Rajasthan, an old mansion stood abandoned for decades. Locals whispered that a tantric occultist had once lived there, performing dark rituals. One day, he vanished mysteriously, leaving behind an aura of fear. One evening, a group of 5 friends decided to explore the mansion. They entered cautiously, their flashlights flickering as they stepped into the dark hallways. The air was heavy, filled with the scent of burnt wood and something metallic, like dried blood. As they reached the main hall, they noticed something eerie, a half-finished ritual setup. A large circle of ash, burnt incense, and a wooden idol covered in dried blood sat at the center of the room. Suddenly, one of them, Ramesh, froze in place. His body tensed, and his head slowly tilted upward. Then, in a deep, unnatural voice, he started chanting in a language none of them understood. His friends watched in horror as his eyes rolled back, and he let out a blood-curdling scream. They grabbed him, shaking him awake. He collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air. When he finally regained consciousness, deep scratch marks had appeared on his arms. Shaking, he whispered what he had seen. A shadowy figure with glowing red eyes had been whispering to him, urging him to finish the ritual. Terrified, the group ran out of the mansion, vowing never to return. Locals say that no one who disturbs that house leaves unchanged. 2. The crying baby at 3 a.m. Neha, a college student, had just moved into a hostel in an old building. The hostel was known for strange occurrences, but she ignored the rumors. One night, as she was studying late, she suddenly heard a baby crying outside her room. Confused, since no infants lived in the hostel, she got up and opened the door. The hallway was empty. As she stood there, the crying suddenly turned into soft giggles. A shiver ran down her spine. Heart pounding, she slowly stepped back into her room and shut the door. But the moment she turned around, her door slammed shut by itself. Frozen in terror, she watched as her window began rattling violently. A cold chill filled the air, and for a split second, she felt something small grab her wrist. The next morning, as the sun poured in through her window, she dared to look at the walls. Her breath caught in her throat. There were tiny, childlike handprints smudged on the wall near her bed. Shaken, she told the hostel staff. They exchanged nervous glances before finally revealing the truth. Years ago, a baby had died mysteriously in that very room. And it seemed like the child was still there. And its spirit was still looking for its mother. 3. The man in the closet. Priya was excited to move into her new apartment in Delhi. It was small but cozy, perfect for a fresh start. However, from the very first night, she felt an unsettling presence. It was a strange feeling, as if someone was constantly watching her. She tried to brush it off, blaming it on nerves. One evening, while changing her clothes, she glanced at the mirror near her closet. Her heart froze in terror. For a brief second, she saw a shadowy figure standing behind her. Spinning around, she found nothing but an empty room. The feeling of being watched intensified over the next few nights. Then, one night, she heard soft breathing coming from inside her closet. Gathering all her courage, she slowly approached and pulled the doors open. At first, there was nothing. But as she stepped closer, 2 glowing red eyes suddenly appeared in the darkness. A sharp, chilling whisper filled the air, and the closet door slammed shut on its own. Priya screamed and ran out of the apartment, calling her brother. When they returned, the closet was open again, and all her clothes had been ripped apart and thrown on the floor. The next day, her landlord hesitated before finally revealing the truth. The previous tenant, a young girl, had been found dead inside that very closet. No one knew how she had died, but since then, strange things had happened in the apartment. Priya moved out that very night. 4. The haunted highway. Rajesh was a truck driver used to long, lonely drives. One night, at around 2 a.m., he was driving along an isolated highway near Madhya Pradesh when he spotted a woman standing on the roadside. She was wearing a white sari, her long black hair covering her face. Feeling uneasy but concerned, he slowed down. As she turned her head slightly, a sudden dread filled his heart. Something was wrong. Then he noticed it. Her feet were turned backward. A cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Every nerve in his body screamed run. Slamming the accelerator, he sped past her. But as he looked into his rearview mirror, his heart nearly stopped. She was sitting in the back seat, staring at him with hollow black eyes. Rajesh let out a terrified scream and lost control of the truck. It skidded off the road and crashed into a tree. He blacked out. The next morning, passers-by found him unconscious but alive. Strangely, the truck's doors were locked from the inside, yet there were no signs of the woman anywhere. Local villagers later told him that years ago, a woman had been killed in an accident on that very stretch of road. Since then, she had been haunting travelers, luring them to their deaths. Like, share and subscribe for more videos.